morning. My name is Tammy Kleins. I'm an executive board member of the Mayfield Area Chamber of Commerce. And today's the third installment of a four-part webinar series of keeping your business going during the pandemic. And this series is brought to you by MACC, and it is in conjunction with the cities of Highland Heights, Mayfield Heights, and Mayfield Village. Our previous webinars can be found on the MACC website, and I encourage you to actually go on our MACC website to see those if you haven't already, and to look for other resources for your businesses. And we do have an exciting announcement today. We are going to have a new energy resource for you that's going to become available in June. MACC has partnered with the Community Energy Advisors to bring businesses a cost savings for their energy bills. And look for that information to come out in the MACC newsletter email in June. Next week will be our final installment of the series, and it will be covering HR issues and COVID-19. And it will be presented by Elizabeth Crosby. She is an attorney with Buckley King and has over 30 years experience in unemployment law and workers' compensation. And Elizabeth promises to bring some very important information for business owners as they work through this COVID pandemic with their employees. Registration will begin tomorrow on the MACC website. So without further ado, I'm proud to introduce to you MACC President Joe Cordetti.
Thanks, Tammy. And I want to thank everybody for joining us for our third part of the series here that we're putting together. I think it's important as a community we use each other for resources and stick together as much as possible. We're in unprecedented times, but I think with everybody coming together, sharing resources, and just sticking together as a community, we'll all get through this. A lot of things are starting to open up now, and I don't really want to ramble on here. But I think it's important that we can all stick together and all do our part and do what we're supposed to do, and we'll make it through this, and hopefully all of our businesses will keep staying profitable and get through this. We have an exciting presenter here today. So I've had the pleasure of knowing Michael LaMarca for a number of years now, and I should know his bio by heart, but I don't, because everything's always changing in his business and he's adding more locations. But today presenting will be Michael LaMarca. He's the owner and CEO of Master Pizza Franchise Group. He currently oversees 12 locations and over 275 employees. The kicker for me is Michael is the captain of the United States pizza team and he's been a four-time national pizza champion and one-time international pizza champion. So that's right up my alley, as pizza being one of my favorite foods. It's kind of hard to turn down. So if you haven't had the pleasure of eating at one of Michael's locations, you're missing out, definitely. Michael also serves on the board of directors for the Ohio Restaurant Association, and he's been working pretty closely with state officials on restaurant guidelines for opening during the current pandemic. Like I said, his insight on restaurant operations should be second to none, and I think we can all get a lot out of this. I'm excited to learn a little bit more. Being an insurance agent with Lakeshore Insurance, I help manage a lot of my business's risk. We have a lot of restaurants and other organizations that you can probably apply some of these concepts to. So with that, I will turn it over to Michael.
Hi guys, good morning everybody. Am I good? Can everyone hear me right?
I can hear you.
Okay. So it's one of my first times ever hosting a Zoom meeting. I appreciate you guys asking me to do this. I think these series have been fascinating so far. I've been last week's was great with Cindy, who I really hit home for me, because a lot of the stuff she dealt with was for opening the restaurants, which was right up our alley, because that was perfect timing. And today we open up a dining inside. So I have a presentation. I'm not sure how this works. If someone has a question, please raise your hand, I guess, or ask. Don't hesitate to interrupt. There's so much information out there, and I was just trying to figure out how to corral all this. And yesterday we had a meeting with the Ohio Restaurant Association board members and the Lieutenant Governor. We meet every Wednesday at 4:30. And one of the things they released yesterday was the state of Ohio frequently asked questions. And I figured, I was like, I had all this presentation all set, and they kind of released this yesterday. So I kind of like pivoted and changed the presentation to kind of update the information that was released yesterday. I got it like last night, like 9 o'clock. So information is always changing. There's a lot of hearsay out there, and so one of the things I really preach is to only get your information from ohio.gov or the Ohio Restaurant Association website. There's so many people out there that help facilitating those messages, which are great. But I really feel like if you own a restaurant, and you have a specific question, those are the two best resources I feel that are out there. And the reason why is because they're working together, the government and the Ohio Restaurant Association working hand in hand to help guide us through these new protocols and new ways to run our business. So use those two references. All the information I'm giving today are on those websites. There's nothing that's being withheld. Every time they do a release, it's posted on both websites. So plenty of information, plenty of opportunity to really get the direct, correct answer. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen here, or attempt to, and I'm going to start the presentation, if you will. Hang on, I'm sorry, guys. So we look good? All right. So, what should you know and do before opening back up? And this really pertains to inside dining room. I know we opened last week with the outside dining, and we had some situations with overcrowding and people allowing more people in than you should. So that's something we want to talk about in a little bit. But this is pertaining to primarily dining room inside. So real quick, and this is what I thought was pretty interesting. We participate each week in a survey, and there's 1,491 participated in this survey that we get our information from. And to understand the scope of what we're dealing with, 42% of, this is Ohio restaurants, 42% of them have closed their restaurants completely. 47% of those restaurants that are open have seen a 70% plus decrease from the previous year's sales. I mean, we're all in different businesses and we're all business owners. Can you imagine taking 70% of your income off the top? And it's just devastating. The restaurant industry has been hit so bad that it's going to be hard to come back for a lot of these restaurants. So just keep that in mind when you go out and dine, or when you go out and revisit these restaurants, because they're working with smaller staffs and with a whole new multitude of procedures to deal with. Excuse me, 92% of restaurants that have applied for PPP loans, and 64% who applied successfully received a loan. This information is all the way through May 5th. We're waiting for updated information, but I know for a fact that number has gone up. So that's been an avenue of help, which has really helped a lot of restaurant owners. Another thing too, which is really great, is that the restaurant industry is able to adapt. And there's a lot of brilliant people in the industry that are figuring things out. 81% are now offering carryout as part of their model, which is fantastic. It's giving restaurateurs an opportunity to stay afloat. 86% now have phone ordering. Think about some of the restaurants you used to typically go visiting and sitting in their dining room. Now you're calling and getting an order for pickup. And again, 68% offer curbside. You can see these. This is something I'm actually doing a seminar in the next week or so, and I did one about 2 weeks ago as well, about online ordering. 55% of all restaurants are now offering online ordering, which may not seem like it's a big number. It's a huge number. I mean, think about like restaurants that you just typically visit and go in their dining rooms. You would never think about ordering online are now having this service. We're seeing something that will never go away. Online ordering for restaurants is here to stay. And being in the pizza industry myself, we survive on online ordering. It's such a big part of what we do every day. 43% participate in third-party delivery. That is a huge number. Almost half of 4 out of every 10 restaurants have that, are available for delivery now, which is huge. This is another number that's just staggering. 34% now deliver with their own staff. A lot of restaurants, actually a lot of restaurants, people that I know, have taken their servers and now they're using them as delivery drivers. So again, we're being able to adapt to the situation we're in. And 15% offer drive-through, some kind of drive-through service. So I thought these are really interesting statistics to help you get the mindset of what restaurateurs are thinking every day. So the information I have today, this was released on the 19th and given to us last night. This is from the Department of Health, straight from Governor DeWine, Dr. Atkin, and the Lieutenant Governor John Husted. This is the information we're going to go over was literally, it's from the Ohio Department of Health, and it's straight from the horse's mouth, as I say, because it's, try to clear the air of and have a lot of just facts. So one of the questions that we get asked a lot, and we're kind of trying to organize all this information, is, we get all the time, what do we have to do in our restaurants? What kind of barriers and this and that? And a lot of people are trying to get creative. And we talked about this last week, and it's just such a, if you think about it, there's so many different types of restaurant. Not every restaurant's universal. There's so many different ways these are put together. And it's just really important that it's barriers are placed between booths, and with, they got to be smooth. They can't be porous. They need to be cleaned between dining parties, and they need to comply with fire department regulations. That was a big thing, a really big topic in our meetings, is that people are getting creative putting up barriers, but they may not be fire. They might be a fire hazard, actually. And we talk about the shower curtains. It's a big national story, and actually those have to be a certain type of material and approved by your local fire department. So you just got to be careful and really work with your local fire departments and make sure that these are fit the codes. The next thing we talk about, and here if you can see this picture, those barriers, they're very smooth between the booths. They're smooth and they're easy to be wiped down. And one of the things we talk about is, like, say you have a little kid and you think about the size of it. We get a lot of questions about the sizes. And if the size has to be, like, picture your kid turning around. We all been to a restaurant where your kid stands up, turns around, and faces you in the booth. It's got to be able to kind of like cover that, if that makes sense. You got to be able to think kind of like all different types of situations for the size of the dimensions of the barriers. And right here, it says, and what are the recommended dimensions for the barriers? It's recommended that the dimensions of barriers between booths or tables are sufficient to prevent customers from extending, reaching over the booth, and interacting with the customer. So that's very important. Masks. If I had $1 every time someone asked me about a mask question, and this is so important. It is required that everyone wears a mask that's in the restaurant that's working. And I'll read it straight from, this is word for word. Do restaurant and bar employees have to wear face coverings? The order requires employees to wear a face covering unless they meet one of the exceptions in the standards. Businesses must provide justification, and businesses must provide justification for employees that do not wear face coverings. And Article 8 under that ordinance states that. Real quick, that's a picture of me with my mask on. I was driving to work, and my mom wanted to make sure I had a mask on, so I took that picture and sent it to her. So, we got masks made from a t-shirt company here in Cleveland, Ohio, and you can see our logos on it. Very cost-effective and inexpensive, and it's multi-use. We wash them every day, and we gave one to each employee, so everyone has one. It actually costs, at the end of the day, it costs less than the disposable ones. And those are the things right here. In Section 8, it says businesses must allow all customers, patrons, visitors, contractors, vendors. I could read this word for word for you guys, but unless you have a health reason that's documented, everyone must wear one at all times. Okay, so if there's any questions on that, we can talk about it later. But that's one of the biggest questions we get all the time about masks. And next question was one of the things we talked about was, what should a floor plan look like in the COVID-19 restaurant era, if you will? It's recommended that a floor plan include at least the following: entrances and exits, configuration of tables, chairs, booths for dining areas and bars, and kitchen areas to ensure social distancing. When in our restaurants, we eliminated all of our dining rooms. Obviously, we all did. But when we did, we put X's on the floor where people should stand. We pre-designated those areas, and you can see like there's plenty of options now buying these preset do your part, stay apart type of floor decals you can put on your floors. We just put X's with tape. And it's funny, the first day we did that, everyone just kind of just did it. No one even questioned it. No one even asked questions. I just kind of like, if you build it, they will come type of mentality. If you do it, people will follow it. 6 feet is so important. I do know the Board of Health departments will be looking for those type of things when they come in your restaurants. And it's one of the things we'll talk about after this, working with your local health department. But that is one thing inside your kitchen and outside your waiting areas, or however you run your model. Make sure you have that all set and preset. Condiment bottles. One of the first things we did before it was even mandated at our restaurants, we took the cheese and pepper shakers off, the napkins, the preset silverware, the menus. We removed all that from our tables, and that's now a mandate. And you can't have ketchup and mustard bottles. Now, if someone wants ketchup, we got to bring out something like this that's a one-time use. It's throwaway, disposable, and it's just going to be controlled that way for the foreseeable future. So, if someone wants Parmesan cheese for their pizza, we have to bring it out in something container like this, as you see, or some kind of solo cup for us in the restaurant industry. We know what that is, or a solo dressing cups, if you will. This is now. Last night we had our meeting, and can a restaurant and bar offer live music, gaming, or other activities? The answer is no. You cannot. You cannot. But a lot of these things are common sense. If you have a patio and you have a guy playing guitar on a bar stool, playing guitar by himself, that's kind of not what the spirit of the law is. The spirit of the law is if you have a band playing and people are dancing and people are conglomerating towards the stage, that's what it's talking about. But if you have a singer or a guitarist playing up there, that's probably not going to get any issues. But at the end of the day, when you boil it down, everyone has to have a seat. Okay, if you really boil it down and really look at it this way, and ask yourself, can I bring in a guy or a girl or an artist to play guitar and sing during my happy hour? As long as every butt has a seat and they're sitting in it, that's probably going to be okay and not an issue. The problem is if the entertainment is encouraging dancing and encouraging breaking that social distance. And I'm sure we all saw this picture on the news or whatever, this bar, and I forgot where it was, I think Florida, using these inner tubes that make sure everyone's 6 feet apart. It's kind of silly, but it gives a great visualization of how far people need to be apart. Excuse me a second. Can multiple customers sit together in a restaurant or bar? Yeah. And here's, again, a lot of this is common sense. Your party can sit together as long as of today, March or May 21st, right? As of today, May 21st, the max is 10 people. Okay, as long as that party doesn't exceed 10 people, they can sit together, and party to party needs to be separated with 6 feet. If that makes sense. If we can ask questions after this, but as of today, your party of 10 or less can sit together as long as the next party is 6 feet separated. That's a very big question that gets a lot of interpretation. Can a restaurant offer private dining? Again, as of May 21st, the answer is yes, with no more than 10. And I know there's a lot of conversation going on about extending that number. And maybe if I think they're working on making an announcement next day or two about maybe having a baby shower and extending that number bigger than 10, or some kind of whatever wedding reception of extending that number. But as of now, 10 is the number, and you can offer private dining with the same guidelines of social distancing and running a restaurant. So please watch the governor's 2 o'clock press conference every day for updates on some of these relaxing of some of these guidelines, and adding to some of these guidelines to make it safer as some of these get relaxed, if that makes sense. Can a food facility offer self-service food, drinks, or condiments? No. So if you have like a fountain station, like a Coke or Pepsi fountain station, can't do that anymore. And that it makes a lot of sense. You can't have, if you have like a hot dog place, you can't have, the ketchup, mustard, onions, all that lined up. Right? You can't do that right now. It's just, we have to be safe and really think about how many people touch those surfaces and how many people can contaminate that. So as of now, none of that's available. So when you open your restaurants, all those things need to be individually asked for and individually handed over in little packets, or however you want to set that up. This is a great question. It's one that we struggled with too. Are prepackaged foods and drinks prohibited under the order and self-service to close self-service food stations? They are offered. So if you have like a 20-ounce Coke or Pepsi cooler, those are available, and it makes sense because you're grabbing one bag of chips and taking it off the rack, or you're grabbing one can of Coke or Pepsi and taking it out of the cooler. So that is allowed, and that's a big question we get a lot. If you're a restaurant owner, the Ohio Restaurant Association has Ohio Restaurant Promise. These are things that you could sign up for and be part of. It's a list of things we promise to do as restaurateurs, and trying to make sure that our customers feel safe entering our restaurants. So if you see the little logo up top, you can put that on your website. If you sign this promise, you can read it. It's online, and it's just things that we do every day. And it's things that we really want to focus on more and more, and really make sure our customers have confidence coming in and coming back to our restaurants. I feel that if our customers have confidence, the restaurant industry will get back on its feet, and those statistics we went over earlier will improve. This is a fantastic document. We swear by it. It's such a great way to have the mentality of you and your team to really focus on your restaurants and the operation of your restaurant. I also encourage, and this is, I encourage every restaurateur to join the Ohio Restaurant Association. I do a lot of these conferences, and one of the things I always leave with is join your state restaurant association. The reason why I say that is because if I wasn't part of it, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't be able to run our 12 restaurants and to have 275 employees all kind of rowing in the same direction. The information you get is literally instant, and it's correct. And then one of the things that we really had and then when this all first happened, we really struggled because it was a lot of lack of clarity of what's going on. And we had some internal debates about shutting everything down. Do we feel safe operating a restaurant in this? Do I want to send people to work, and do I want people coming in? It was a very big debate, and none of us knew this when this first started happening. And being a part of the Ohio Restaurant Association, I literally got information every night, and still do to this day. Every day since this started, we get a summary of everything that happened today and what's going to be happening in the next day or two, some future outlooks. And I got to tell you, we've taken that information, we've sent it out to all of our everyone in our company. We made everyone aware of what's going on. you know, as it came to us, we sent it out to them, and it was a great way of communicating to our staff that, hey, we're open and we're going to do this right and correct and safe. And we had confidence in our team, and it was really beneficial, and it's super beneficial to be a part of it. And the work that they're doing every day is really keeping us afloat, honest to God. And I just say that because, you know, I want all of our restaurateurs to really have all the information at their fingertips. Thank you, guys. Any questions? Here's my cell phone number, email, call me. Don't hesitate to text me, call me for any questions. I know I kind of gave you information download, but there's so much out there, and I just try to get some key points to you guys. And I would like to, if there's questions or anything, let me know. Hang on, how do I?
Michael, there's one question. Does the order require all patrons at the restaurant to wear masks?
How do I, real quick, stop share? I'm sorry. There we go. As of now, someone could, wow. Hang on, am I back up? I'm sorry. Can you see me?
Yes, you're still back up.
Okay. The mandate does not state that customers have to wear masks, but you can mandate that as a business. So, for example, as Master Pizza can say, you cannot come in my building unless you wear a mask. It is mandated that all employees and staff wear them. So that's a big issue, because don't quote me, but I think it's legally they cannot mandate citizens to wear masks. I'm not really. It was kind of like a little bit of a debate about that. So it's just highly suggested that general public wear them every time they go out, and it's up to the business to mandate whether customers do or do not.
Okay. I also wanted to touch on, we had talked earlier about this new order that came out in lieu of all of the restaurants that opened up patios this past weekend, and the congregating that was happening on the patios. And the question is, now there is health officials that are going out and citing restaurants, and kind of like the tattletalers of, you know, restaurants being reported. So I wanted you to comment on that, and as a business owner, as a restaurant owner, how you see that working in your restaurants.
So personally, I how do I word this personally? Like, as a restaurant owner and someone who's a business owner, I really feel like you should be responsible. And this is, you know, this isn't, you know, these guidelines are really set forth for the interest of protecting the general public. Okay. And as a restaurant owner, and if you're going to open up, you should really want to protect everyone that comes in your restaurant, all your staff, your teammates, and all your customers that come in. So, you know, these things are not put down because they want to control things. It's really the genesis of all these new mandates is to so we don't have to go through this again. So there's no shutdown again in the future. So there's no breaking of your business. You know, you're really getting momentum. All of a sudden, everything just shuts down. The last thing that everybody wants is that. So, you know, these mandates are super proactive to prevent that. Now these people going around, going in and citing restaurants, if there's a deliberate break of these mandates, you're probably going to get cited. Okay. So if they come into Master Pizza and they see that something isn't correct, but they see that your intent is there, they're going to help you. They're going to say, no, make sure this is how it should be done. They want you there to succeed. They're going to be there to help. But if there's a deliberate breakdown of the mandates, if you just open your patio and you bring 600 people in your patio and there's only room for 200 anyway, there's going to be a problem, you know. And if you have a live band, if you have Van Halen playing on your patio and 10,000 people show up, there's going to be a problem. But if you have an artist playing guitar on a bar stool with an amp and everyone's butt is in the seat, having some drinks and dinner, socially distanced, and maybe maybe there's someone's getting up to use the restroom and they stop at a table and talk to someone they know. That's not what's going to happen. Does that make sense? It's the deliberate breaking of these actions that people are going to have some issues with.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Just unmute yourself if you have a question.
I do want to do two things real quick before a question pops up. On ohio.gov, there's this document that's up here. It's called Responsible Protocols for Getting Back to Work. This is a great document. This is in all of our restaurants. And also with the when the restaurant, the group, the restaurateurs that work with the governor hand in hand, Responsible Start for Ohio, is on the ohio.gov. You can look for this. This is the guidelines that are set for every restaurant to reopen safely and under each guideline that is out there for safety. I literally get this information that we talked about are from these documents, and it's the answers to the tests are there. So if a lot of people have questions, these are the documents that are to use and to guide you to reopening. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think there's a question.
Right. Cindy, we'll start with you. You had a question?
Yeah, I had just a couple of questions. So you had some in really great presentation, by the way. Very, very informative. Will you be able to share some of your slides with us? You had some statistics that were really interesting and I couldn't write them down fast enough.
Yeah. If you want to email me, I can email you those directly, the actual slides and all those information that I can send you every document I use for that.
Okay. And then as a owner of a restaurant and talking with other owners, those that were successful in getting those PPP loans and now have to bring back that percentage of their workforce in order to qualify for the forgiveness portion of that, are any of the restaurateurs having a hard time getting folks to come back?
Yeah, they're how many hours do we have?
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand, with the current unemployment,
Yeah.
it's more attractive to stay out, but you have work available. So it gets a little sticky. I was just wondering how you're handling that. You have folks that, you have work for them. They don't want to come back, so then you have the opportunity, hopefully, to hire some new folks.
Yeah. The PPP loan is a living, breathing situation. I know for a fact that they are working with Senator Rob Portman is very involved with this. He is trying to help restaurants. So you get 8 weeks to pay back this lump sum of money you get. Okay, 75% of it has to be for payroll. So that inception of the loan is when the clock starts. Okay, mm-hmm. So May 1st I get the loan. My 8 weeks starts May 1st. So what they're trying to do is for restaurants who've been closed is to take that 8 week period and be able to drop it whenever you reopen. It's none of this has been set yet, but a lot of these things are being proposed. Also, they want to be able to add being the purchase inventory to help be part of that forgiveness. I know there's a lot of things that have been the National Restaurant Association, a gentleman named Sean Kennedy from the National Association is working with them directly, and a lot of the advocacy group of the NRA is working with them to relax some of those black and white guidelines, because a lot of it is broad and doesn't fit the restaurant industry really. Some of these guidelines for the PPP loans. So one of the things they're trying to do is pick that 8 week period and drop it when you reopen. Second thing is they're trying to do is maybe even extend it, maybe to 12 weeks or 16 weeks, whatever that period is. So a lot of that is uncertain, but as it sits today, it's the original form of the PPP loan is the rules that are set initially are what's being used today. I hope that answers your question. Is there
No, it does. It does. Thank you.
Yeah, because I know like for a while everything was just the PPP loans, and if you're having the people that you laid off, if your restaurant was totally closed and you reopen and you offer that same position back to that person, if I believe, and I have to double check this, I believe if you offer that job back to that person and they don't take it, the unemployment stops.
As long as they answer, there are some qualifying questions to that. So in case they actually are covered under ADA or FMLA, that type of thing. But if they don't have any of those pre-qualifiers and they refuse to come back, you do have that right to then terminate their employment and then find new employment. So, but at this point, people are, kind of, I don't say freaking, because, at this point, you've got to ask those questions right away, because now you have to go out and find new employees in order to make that, percentage of getting everybody back for that loan.
Correct. And that's, I'm very hesitant to talk about labor laws because they're so, so crazy. And, that's why, you got to be careful. I tell people all the time, please contact someone that can help you with that, who's a professional in that. Because that is something that you
Actually, that's next week's.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I think really should be pushed. That everyone should really watch that, because that's be very beneficial to everyone.
Yeah, I think for me, so one last question. So the Ohio Restaurant Promise, is that something that any company can go on and take a look at and help promote? I mean, do you have to be a restaurant in order to promote that?
Well, you have to be. It's guided for restaurants.
Right.
Yeah, a retail shop is not going to do the Ohio Restaurant Promise, but any restaurant is more than welcome to sign up for it. And it's great. It literally, it kind of focuses everyone's attention to what to do and for best practices. Kind of gets you in that mindset of best practices operating a restaurant in this atmosphere.
I think that would make people feel a little bit more comfortable. So you have that group that maybe they're not quite comfortable yet to come out, and then you have the other group that feel that it's kind of over and they're just kind of doing whatever they want to do, and that's okay. But I think it's going to help kind of bridge that gap, I think.
The intent is to build confidence in our customers. The intent is to say to people, here, we're really focused on this. We're just not flipping the light switch back on and back to normal. We have a mindset. We have a new set of best practices. We're comfortable. We want you to be comfortable. And it's good, if we could build confidence in everyone going back into restaurants, man, I got to tell you, was it March 17th or 13th, whatever that date was? I tried to block it out of my head that Sunday night at 9:00 when the mandate happened, every restaurant was on fire. I mean, it was the restaurant industry was on fire. And to get that confidence back in all of our customers, we need to do something like this to get the confidence in everyone to go back out. So that's the intent.
Thank you, Cindy. Sean, I think you had a question.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Michael, when you were talking about floor planning, are they actually looking for a physical document, or just, in general, make sure that you have the layout when the health inspectors do come through and double check these things?
So, I have floor plans. Okay, it just helped me, but I've had one health inspection during this, and they did not require. This is 3 weeks ago. So that time did not require a floor plan, but they went in and wanted to see the physical markings on the floor and our plan. And I was able to describe it and talk to them about it. I would have a plan of what you're doing documented. I would document everything, saying we are master required. We took the things off the table. We have, everything that you're doing, I would have a plan written down for. And if you want, I could email you what we're doing from Master Pizza, so you can use it as a guideline. I think if you go to masterpizza.com, there's a little section, and you could read what we're doing, and it's updated as we've updated it. I would have that and be able to hand it to them and say, here's what we're doing. As a physical floor plan, I think it's going to be obvious when they walk in. They see the shields, they see the things on your booths, they see the markings on your floor. In our kitchen, we sectioned off each section, so it's going to be kind of like black and white. They're going to see you're doing something, and they're going to see that you have. I'm talking about having a written floor plan. They're going to see that you're doing it, but I would have a plan of, definitely a plan or a document stating everything you're doing that's mandated by yourself. Meaning, if
No, I agree. I have all that. It's just one of those things. It's like, okay, I have seating charts. Is that okay? I don't know if they're actually looking for like a physical, like an architectural drawing with every hand station laid out and all the other.
If you could provide that, great. The more information you could give and more information you could to put out, the better. But we don't have that. I have it because we're nerds. we have every layout of our store, and we kind of like, in our Photoshop, we do all that stuff. But we didn't give that to the health inspector. We gave her all the documents that are right on our website, posted on all of our doors. That's what we gave them. They were great.
Great. Yeah, that has me led up to one other question when you touched on about the retail aspect of it. I manage Rustic Grill at Stonewater, so for me, golfers are abundant. Joe, you know that. And then, it's one of those things that, we used to have grab and go at the turn. And I immediately eliminated that and have everything. So my bar staff takes care of it. So it's not everybody constantly going into the same cooler. But within kind of the guidelines of the law, it's still permissible to be able to do something like that because you treat it as a retail aspect of it then? Would they look at it that way?
So what we did is we put like on our counter one bottle of everything and we get it. Does that make sense? Like, we used to have all of our retail dressing out. We used to have all that stuff out. Now we put one out. If someone wants it, we grab it for them. Like one that's clean underneath or one from the cooler. Put the pop cooler in the back. That's what we did. I know we're probably a little bit more aggressive, but I just felt like the more we come across as being mindful of what we're trying to do, the better off it comes, So that's one of the things we did.
I agree. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Okay. I just want to remind everybody again, next week is the fourth installment of the 4-part series, and we'll be focusing on HR issues. And as Michael said, I really encourage you to join in next week's webinar. Please let other people know about the webinar as well. You do not have to be a member to be on these webinars. We just need to know that you're a vetted business in the Mayfield area, chamber area. But everybody is welcome. We're just trying to get this information out. And again, please visit our website, Mayfield Area Chamber of Commerce.org and or .com, and we have a bunch of resources on there for you, and we're here to help in any way that we can. So please reach out to us if you need any assistance, and we'll be happy to help you. So other than that, Joe, you want to close out?
Sorry, I had a little trouble unmuting there. I want to thank everybody for attending today. Thank you, Michael. Great presentation. And Michael has conveyed to me if anybody has any questions, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. Knowing Michael for as long as I have, I know he has a passion for helping people, and he's a great person, and he wants everybody to be successful. So don't be shy about reaching out to me or Michael. Like I reiterated earlier, we'll all get through this together, and hopefully all of our businesses will continue to be successful. And once this whole thing ends, we can have a big pizza party.
Yes.
But again, thank you everybody for attending. And just to follow up, our website, I believe it's mayfieldareachamber.org.
Thank you.
All of our resources are on there, but if anybody needs anything, obviously don't hesitate to reach out, and I look forward to seeing all of you next week.